Yes, I have a pimple. I'm very aware of that, but I got something to tell you. What is going on? What is going on? That's what I want to ask today. There's so much going on right now. Everything seems to be moving really fast at a rapid pace. It's like it's in a spin cycle. And because we're connected to the atmosphere, as human beings, we're connected to the universe, there are physical ramifications of what's happening in the spirit realm. Some of us have been very fatigued and tired because of what's going on in the spirit realm, what's going on in our atmosphere. We all know, or a lot of us know, about what happened with CERN, how they were extracting energy from the universe and just tampering with the flow of God's creation. We're affected by that. Even though we may not see initial consequences of that, eventually we're going to see the manifestation of what they have done. All of this has already been written. It's been written in the book of Revelations. A lot of people are afraid to read the book of Revelations because it's like the never-ending story. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie, The Never-Ending Story, but that's a movie that I grew up watching, and I can see that they've gotten their inspiration from the book of Revelation. It's because we're living it out. We're experiencing what has already been written. The book of Matthew talks about what we should look for when Christ returns. All of this is a result of us being right on schedule, us being in alignment with what has already been written. The disciples were asking Jesus what to look for when he comes back, and as awesome as he is, he was able to give us signs, give them and us signs to look for. And one of those signs was, it says that the love of man will wax cold. When we see people operating in wickedness and we see, like, wow, this person's heart seemed cold, it's right on schedule with what's going on. It's right on schedule with what the word says. It's right on schedule with the fact that Jesus Christ is soon to return. There are multiple people in food lines, people that probably would never think that they would be in a food line. There's food lines wrapped around buildings, and this is not really being talked about. And this is the very beginning of famine. Famine is also a sign of the times. But David in the book of Psalms says that he's never seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging for bread. He's talking about the righteous. If you're not on the path of righteousness, then you're excluded and you're out of the protection of God. The judgment that's happening, the things that are happening in the earth, is God's judgment. So if you're not on the path of righteousness, if you're not found in him, then you're out of his covering. Because if you're on the path of righteousness, he will keep you. He will provide for you. He will take care of you. He won't forsake you. We oftentimes forsake him because the enemy tries to glamorize this world and make it seem better. Broad is the way that leads to destruction, but narrow is the way that leads to everlasting life. So the enemy tries to tempt us and make everything seem wonderful. It seems like the people who are in the world, that it seems like they're prospering. It seems like they're happy. But then you look and you see the people of God and it's like they're struggling. We're still waiting for God to manifest things, but something is shifting. Something is about to shift. The thing that I want to encourage you about is God showed me the concrete. In other words, the rocks. He said in his word that he will make the rocks cry out. There's nothing that can silence the cries of his people. Just like he's the same God that heard the cry of Abel, the cries of his blood crying out from the ground. He's the same God that will hear the cries of his people. Not only is he soon to return, but there's a shift happening. And he's going to manifest his glory. God's people win in the end. The wicked seem like they're prospering, but it says in Psalms, fret not thyself of evildoers, neither be envious of the workers of iniquity, for they will soon be cut down. They're going to have their time. There's a time for everything. And God's people have suffered. A lot of God's people have suffered. And it seems like the ones who are in wickedness have been prospering, but there's a shift happening. There's a shift coming. And the first shall be last, and the last shall be first. Every knee shall bow, and every tongue shall confess that Jesus Christ is Lord. It's only a matter of time. So it's important to get on the Lord's side. Don't worry about what's going on. You might have to hustle extra. You might have to do 2 of these and 3 of those to keep a roof over your head. But guess what? God is going to come through for you. Just know that God is going to come through. He's the same God that has the power to make the rocks cry out. He's the same God that heard the cry of the blood of Abel crying out. There's nothing that the enemy can do that God don't know about or that God doesn't allow. So how much more will your Father in heaven come through for you? He's going to come through for you. Trust and have faith. It's going to take a new level of faith in order to sustain in these last days. It's spiritual. There's no lukewarm anymore. Trust in the Lord with all your heart. Lean not unto your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct your path. Be blessed, everybody.